I searched my local ponds and swamps for amphibians over the span of 5 days in 5 different locations. Since early spring has arrived, it is now time for the earliest species of amphibians to exit their cold burrows as the brumation period has ended. I chose a variety of habitats and locations over the length of 5 days so I could find as many of these amphibians as possible. For day 1, I chose a relatively large local swamp for my first location. As you can see, it is quite forested, and since I have seen frogs at this location at the same time of year before, I knew it was a good choice. And as you can hear, I was met with the piercing sound of bellowing wood frogs. It took a lot of patience to creep up onto a mossy patch of land, which viewed the wood frog-infested water. Every time a car would drive by, the frogs would stop and then continue when they believed the threat was gone. While I wasn't able to get everything directly on camera, I was able to see their behavioral instincts without giving them a reason to flee. It made me wonder, why am I able to find so many frogs in the small portion of the swamp in early spring, while later in the year they seem to disappear? Well, the answer is actually remarkably simple. For wood frogs, early spring spells mating or breeding season. This is the reason for the chorus, or frog croaking. Naturally, these sounds are mating calls to attract other frogs. To do this, frog species will congregate in a certain area. Outside of this time of year, frogs are much more careful of predation and live their lives more independently. For day 2, I spent the day at another swamp. This time, it had no canopy, leading directly to the sky. The sounds at this location were one of the most vocal, as you can hear in this audio. While many wood frogs were able to flee moments after my arrival, I was able to take a closer look at a few of them. Even though my efforts aren't showcased in this video, it took a lot of patience to see the frogs up close. In this case, there weren't just wood frogs, but also spring peepers. Sadly, I wasn't able to see one, but I'll show a picture for the video. Their piercing screeches are recognizable to even many common citizens, as their calls are often paired with the coming spring. Day 3. The next location was near a public school, where there was a large wooded swampy area. I'm not going to linger too much on this day, but similar to day 1, I was able to find wood frogs floating on the surface of the water. As usual, they would either disappear or mute their mating calls when they heard or saw me approach. Nonetheless, it is an experience worth sharing, as I was able to get a closer look at a few of the wood frogs. For day 4, I headed to one of my more frequently visited locations. Whilst it serves as a pond, it dries up at certain times in the year, so technically it could be considered a vernal pool. If you didn't know what a vernal pool is, it's basically a body of water that dries up year-round. Vernal pools are a great spot for salamanders to lay their eggs. This is why when I stumbled upon these tadpole eggs, I couldn't be 100% sure they belonged to wood frogs. Speaking of, this pond had once again considerable amounts of them. If you haven't recognized the theme yet, all of the frogs so far have been the species Lithobates sylvaticus. As well, I did hear the spring peepers, but talking about what I was able to record and see, it was all wood frogs. There's a good reason for this. Wood frogs are certainly one of the most cold-adapted species. This is probably why I was only seeing them, for they were the earliest to come out of brumation. Brumation is a lot like hibernation, yet the animals are not sleeping, but only experiencing dormancy in the cold months. Day 5, the final day. I went to one more pond. I have visited frequently and am quite fond of it. Inside of the pond, wood frogs. This time, however, I wasn't able to get a good look at them as they were more shy than usual. What reason, I don't know, but it might have to do with the fact that they live next to the roadside and are more exposed to the sky. Alas, as you can see on screen, I was able to find some tadpole eggs. I know this location didn't show much to the viewer, so if you are interested, I have other videos on my channel and I will traverse to a different location, hopefully to find some of this year's first reptiles. However, that is for a future video. If you enjoyed, check out more content on my channel and I'll see you next time.